Marcus Tullius Cicero by Ellen Farrelly. He was born in Arpinum on January 3rd, 106 BC, and he died in Formia on December 7th, 43 BC. He was killed by a military tribune under the orders of Mark Antony. Cicero's parents were Marcus Tullius Cicero and Hoia Cicero. In 79 BC, Cicero married Terentia. It was a marriage of convenience that worked for over 30 years until they divorced in 45 BC. With Terentia, Cicero had two children, Tullia Ciceronis and Marcus Tullius Cicero. Cicero's favorite child was Tullia. And in 46 BC, Cicero remarried to a woman named Publilia. In 46 BC, Cicero's favorite child, Tullia, became sick and died very suddenly, and he was almost inconsolable. Publilia was always jealous of Cicero's love for Tullia and was almost happy when she died. Cicero, being outraged by this, divorced her in 46 BC and didn't remarry after that. Cicero wasn't very interested in the military. He only served for about 2 years, and he was even really upset when his son, Marcus Tullius Cicero Minor, was more interested in military matters than he was in philosophy, because Cicero really liked philosophy but wasn't very interested in the military. However, Cicero was very interested in politics, and he wasn't born of a very good status. He was born into a lower aristocratic family of the equestrian order, which wasn't very good, and he was a novus homo. Novus homo means new man, and if you were a novus homo, you were the first in your family to achieve some kind of political success, like get into the Senate, or in Cicero's case, become the consul. And he rose up through the Cursus Honorum, and he made it all the way from the equestrian rank to the consul by giving speeches and defending people in court and being involved in Roman politics. Growing up, Caesar was very interested in philosophy. He studied it very often, as you can tell in this picture, which is titled Young Cicero Studying Philosophy. And he used the philosophy that he learned as a child and growing up to defend his political views, especially in speeches or debates, and when he was defending people in court. Cicero was also very involved in the Roman courts. He defended people in court, and he made speeches to the Senate. Some of his most well-known speeches are called the Philippics, which were 14 speeches that Cicero made within the span of 2 years, and they were speeches that he made against Mark Antony to make Mark Antony look bad. He was also very prominent in the literary areas of rhetoric and letters. He was one of the most well-known orators among Romans, and he was the only orator who spoke in public as well as wrote about orating as a subject. Cicero, growing up, studied rhetoric and philosophy side by side, and he used his philosophy in his speeches to defend his ideas and philosophy, and he used his speeches to rise up in the Cursus Honorum and end up gaining political power. Cicero's letters, whether they were to family, friends, or sent for political reasons, gave us insight on his personal life. For example, historians know when Cicero started doubting his marriage to Terentia because he was writing letters to his friends about how he didn't like her anymore. Cicero was your typical politician, and he went through a lot of controversy during his life. He helped suppress a conspiracy and then was exiled to Greece, but a year later he was brought back to Rome. When Caesar invaded Italy, he supported Pompey, and obviously Caesar won, so then he fled from Rome because he was afraid that Caesar was going to be mad at him for supporting Pompey, but then Caesar pardoned him and he came back. but he came back very carefully. He wasn't quick to run back to Rome. And he also wrote the 14 Philippics after Caesar died. Philippics are speeches given to condemn a particular politician. In this case, he was condemning Mark Antony, and it didn't work out too well for him because he was murdered for them. The Catiline conspiracy was something similar to the 14 Philippics, but it was caused by something crazy. Catiline had organized this conspiracy that involved Cicero's murder, and Cicero ended up finding out and prevented his murder by putting guards outside his house. And so when Catiline failed to kill Cicero, which was the beginning of his plan that began the conspiracy, Cicero went into the Senate and gave 4 orations called the Catiline orations, explaining what Catiline was up to, and the senators weren't very happy about that. Here's an excerpt from the first Philippic. When Julius Caesar was slain on the 15th of March, B.C. 44, Marcus Antonius was his colleague in the consulship, and he, being afraid that the conspirators might murder him too, and as it is said that they had debated among themselves whether they would or not, concealed himself on that day and fortified his house, till perceiving that nothing was intended against him, he ventured to appear in public the day following. In this example of a speech given by Cicero, he basically calls Mark Antony a coward. And the 14 Philippics, the 14 speeches that he uses to offend Mark Antony and a bunch of other people, are most of the reason that Mark Antony sent somebody to kill him.